there's no shot you're putting this book down. I was reading this book and sobbing. I don't even know what to say. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lena if you're new here. I'm back with a book video that is the ultimate book video. Today I'm going to be doing a favorite books of all time video slash basically books that I think are perfect and that I could not change anything about them for them to be better. These ones I'm confident that I will always think they're amazing books. But that being said, there's only 5. If you can guess what books you think are in here, comment below and then see if you were right. Okay, I'm gonna start off with one that most people probably know. This is actually part of a duology. 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. You can see this is a very annotated book. And basically, if you have not heard of this book before, it's about this place called Ketterdam. This guy Kaz, first of all, we love Kaz, okay? He's just amazing, okay? But he gets offered this opportunity to do a heist, and this is not like a chill little heist. First, when I saw this book and I got it and I read the back, and I was like, oh, I usually don't read what a book is about before I read it. I'll usually just take it based off recommendation. And when I saw it was about a heist, I was like, I've been fooled. Like, this is gonna be not that good. I feel like the first chapter is gonna throw some people off. The first chapter is a bit slow. It doesn't show what the book's gonna be. Once you understand what's going on, you're in. And then once the heist begins, there's no shot you're putting this book down. And I don't know how Leigh Bardugo planned out this whole book, especially Kaz, the way that he thinks. Like, I know it's the author, but wow. There's like 6 teenagers that are in for this heist, and then you see how every single one of them get put into this heist. Also, this is the place they have to do the heist in. Tell me that does not look like insane, okay? This book, I would recommend it to anyone. Literally anyone. My dad, my brother, my neighbor. I would recommend this to anyone. Anyone could like this book. Read the second one too. It's really good too, but this one, perfect. Okay, this one, I actually feel like there's not enough hype behind this book. This is Happy Hour by Marlowe Granados. I hope I am pronouncing that right, but this is actually her debut novel. And when I was reading this, no clue it was a debut novel. It seems like a mature writer who knows what they're doing type of vibe. This is set in New York City. So anyone that's obsessed with New York City, get this, okay? I'm just gonna read a little bit of what this synopsis says. She's wise enough to understand that the purpose of life is the pursuit of pleasure. In her diary, she chronicles her New York City adventure during the sweltering summer of 2013. And then she has a best friend in this. So 2 girlies, they're both broke in New York City and they're just trying to make it in the city, live out their 20s. Honestly, this book kind of doesn't really have a specific plot. It's more like a coming of age story, basically going through your 20s, and I think it's just a really cool book. It depicts like messy women and like, just trying to make it in your 20s, just trying to get through your 20s, and how a very daunting period in your life. You just don't know what you're doing. You're not a teenager, you're an adult, but you don't feel like an adult. And this book, I feel like, captures that perfectly, and it's just very messy and the detail is just perfect. You kind of just see a perspective into young, dumb, and broke. Pretty much, honestly. I don't know, it's just perfect. And I think anyone in their 20s could read this and enjoy it. She has very like poetic writing. She reminds me a little bit of Sally Rooney. Speaking of Sally Rooney, I had to do it. I had to do it. This book is my favorite book of all time. I read this once a year. It's almost to the point where I have to read it again. My annual read of Normal People. This is Normal People by Sally Rooney. They've made a TV show about this. A guy named Connell and Marianne, they're in high school. It follows them into their early 20s. This is another book that really doesn't have a plot. It's extremely character driven. The characters are so perfectly real, like they're normal people, which I think is literally the purpose of the title, is that they're normal people. You feel like you can relate to them. At the last sentence, it says, "It takes us from the first conversation to the years beyond in the company of 2 people who try to stay apart but find that they can't." This kind of sounds like one of those romances, like second chance romances. It's not, it does not give that vibe. This book is so unique in its own, and it's another book that I would recommend to read in your 20s. Favorite book of all time, probably for life. Okay, now this book I do not think I have talked about on my channel. I'm like shocked I get to talk about this for the first time. The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E. Schwab. So basically it follows this woman, Addie, hence the title, that goes through her life and she's invisible. Not physically, but no one can remember her. They'll see her and then like if the door closes, they'll forget. Like let's say she's in a hotel, the door closes, like the receptionist no longer knows who she is. She comes back and she's like, what, how did you get in the room? And she's like, I just checked in. And then the girl's like, no, you didn't. And everyone forgets her. So it's a very like isolated type of life for her. And it starts in 1714, which at first I saw that and I was like, it's gonna give like historical literature vibe. I don't know what I expected. When I saw it started then, I was like, okay. But funny enough, like the way that it takes you, it'll say like New York City or France or something. And at first I didn't know if I would like the jumping in the timelines. Clearly since this book is in the video, clearly the amount of annotations I've done. It follows her and she's literally being forgotten her entire life for 300 years until one day she goes into a bookstore and then someone remembers her name and they remember her, and then the book kind of goes from there. The whole time it's like kind of like what the meaning of life is to me. That's what I kept asking myself. But it just follows her and how important it is to have relationships with people and the importance of remembering, the privilege it is to be able to remember things, like, or people or just moments. I don't know, it just makes you appreciate life so much. I'll leave it at that because I don't want to spoil anything. And then last but not least, I hope I've been making some sort of sense. Sometimes when I talk about my favorite books, I kind of just forget to explain the book and I just like word vomit a bunch of detail about why it's so good without any real explanation. So hopefully there's something that you're getting out of this video. This book though, I left it for the last one because I thought if anyone's making it to this point, they're waiting for that book that's gonna tear their heart out. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I remember I saw this book and I was like, it's not gonna be as good as everyone says. Girl, little did I know. I genuinely, as usual, I go into books blind. I had no idea what this was about. I knew obviously Achilles, a Greek mythology type of thing. So I knew there was gonna be that. I didn't realize it was a take on the Trojan War that centers on Achilles and his best friend Patroclus. It's a take on their romance. But I was so intrigued when I realized this was basically their love story. I don't want to go too in depth, but basically it follows Achilles when he's being trained and how he became such a great warrior, and then in the Trojan War, and the Trojan War lasts like over a decade, so it kind of takes pieces of it, but you get to see just the great story of Achilles and kind of a different take on it that doesn't get shown as much in literature, I guess. And before I knew the whole story, when I learned about it in my Greek class, I didn't realize that that wasn't obvious, that Achilles and Patroclus were together. But I mean, it's still a speculation, but I'm absolutely in love with the fact that Madeline went with this take on it. If you know the Trojan War story, your heart's about to get ripped out, okay? Just ripped right out of your chest. I was reading this book and sobbing. I don't even know what to say. It'll tear your heart out, but then it'll kind of put it back together a little bit like books do. It won't just leave your heart lying out there, but you know, there'll still be some hurt in there. Oh my gosh. If you think you're not gonna like it, the way that I've been explaining it, it sounds like you're about to read like a Greek mythology, the Iliad or whatever. It feels like you're about to read that. It's absolutely not like that. This is the most beautifully written book ever. And just the way that Madeline writes, it's so poetic and it's beautiful writing. I am always in awe whenever I think about this book because it's perfect writing. I honestly think about this book like once a month, at least. But these are the 5 books that I think are perfect. These are my favorite books of all time. I think I will like these books forever. I really recommend reading all these books. Honestly, if any of my excitement got to you, any of my excitement made you be like, yeah, like I want to be that excited about a book, you gotta read these books. They're just so good. But anyways, that is all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed my all-time favorite books, perfect books. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment any video recommendations that you want me to do, and follow me on Instagram, TikTok if you want. Just a suggestion. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Or well, no, I know I'll be here. I hope you'll be back to see me. Goodbye.